Hello and welcome. My name's Rajendra Shepherd and I'm a lecturer and writer. I work at the University of the West Indies in St. Augustine, Trinidad and Tobago, and I teach medical communication. So I'm very happy today to be chatting with my friend and Tantra teacher, Sanchit Shetty, who is going to be talking to us about his definition of Tantra and its particular benefits. Sanchit?
So basically I've done my diploma in yoga therapy, yoga education and yoga therapy. And then I did my yoga instructor's course. And then I did my master's of science in yoga. And there I specialized in Tantra yoga, which is basically, you could say it's the scientific techniques of yoga.
Right. One of the things I notice is that when you look for Tantra on the internet, there are multiple definitions that are used, and it often seems associated with sexuality. I wonder if you could tease for us apart the connection between the sex and Tantra, and define for us what Tantra is relative to yoga. Where does it all fit in?
So yeah, the word Tantra actually evokes a lot of negative feelings. Like they also associated with black magic as well as sex, which is I think a very unfair way of describing it, because yes, there is a little bit of a sexual element involved in it, because we are definitely using that raw biological energy which originates from the perineum. So basically in yoga or in Tantra, the perineum is called the Mooladhara chakra. Mool is again a Sanskrit word. Mool means root and Adhar means the foundation, the root foundation. And basically the energy or the matter of who we are originates from that point. So like you must be knowing that the human body is, human beings are deuterostomes, which basically means that the embryo, when it develops, the anal outlet is the first thing that forms. And from there, the whole body forms. So matter-wise also and energy-wise also, the perineum near the anal outlet, that is like the origin of the energy as well as the matter of who we are. And we can actually harness that energy and make it flow through all the endocrine glands till it reaches the pineal gland. So like you can say the perineum is the negative potential and the pineal gland is the positive potential. And basically that is where the sexual energy part comes into play. We are basically using that raw energy to stimulate all the other endocrine glands right up till the pineal gland.
Right.
So that is where the sexual part comes in. Otherwise, there is no such relationship with sex or black magic. It's just keeping the body and the glands healthy using that raw energy.
Where do you think the black magic inference came from, or the black magic association came from?
Yeah, basically, not just Tantra, I guess yoga in general deals with the conscience. And I guess conscience is one topic which still science struggles with. So wherever science struggles with it, then it's like moving towards mysticism, and basically that then it doesn't take much time to call it black magic. So I guess that's how it has happened. But otherwise, when you're dealing with there is a scientific way of dealing with conscience also. I mean, I know the word conscience also basically means conning science, right?
Right. Okay.
It has been the main issue with conventional science in dealing with conscience. But then I guess Tantra is actually a scientific way of understanding conscience. So maybe that's why the whole black magic thing came into the picture, because it's hard to understand conscience scientifically.
Yeah,
we were still struggling with the biological aspect of it. So, and when we talk about the physical and the chemical aspect of it, when we reach that stage, it starts looking like magic. So right. That's what happened.
Right. I understand. And what about the distinction between Tantra and yoga and this term tantric yoga? How does that come into play?
So the distinction between Tantra and yoga, actually there is no distinction. It's just that we tend to give names to certain schools of yoga, and these names they are just describing one aspect of it. Like for example, we have Hatha Yoga. So Hatha Yoga is describing the balance between the anabolism and the catabolism. The Ha is the sun and the Tha is the moon. So basically the balance between the sun and the moon, the masculine and the feminine, the catabolism and the anabolism, the sympathetic and the parasympathetic system. So that is what the word Hatha Yoga is emphasizing on. And when we say Tantra Yoga, it is the same thing, it's just that it is emphasizing on the techniques, the scientific techniques. So it's just that the description is different. When we say Hatha Yoga, we are just talking about that aspect of it, the yin and the yang balancing.
Right.
Whereas when we are saying Tantra Yoga, we are just specifically focusing or emphasizing on the techniques. So that is the only distinction.
So the common definition that you hear of yoga when you look for it is to refer to this idea of union. And I've heard various people, including the likes of Sadhguru, refer to that union being a union of the energy, of the mind, of the emotion, and the physical body. And yoga itself also divides, I've heard, into karma yoga, into bhakti yoga, into kriya yoga, and into Gyan yoga. And so I wonder where Tantra fits in that, just so we can pin down exactly what it is that you would be teaching or doing in your own daily practice.
So karma yoga basically means the activities, the action, and bhakti would be devotion, or basically the highest form of love. And then Gyan yoga, there is knowledge. And then finally, there is the psychic control, or the Hatha yoga or Tantra yoga that we are doing. That means when we sit in a classroom, in a yoga classroom, and when we're doing the different yoga practices, that is like one of the four things. But then it also includes, it's like, it is also karma. It's also an activity.
Right.
It's also knowledge, because without proper knowledge, you can't really do the practices safely. So it is also Gyan yoga, and also in a way you are treating your body like a temple. So it is a bit of devotion also. It is a bit of bhakti yoga also. So there is a little bit of everything. So it's not really a watertight compartment. Even when we talk about things like, there is something known as the 8 limbs of yoga, the Ashtanga yoga. There's the asanas and the pranayam, that is the breathing practice, and then the meditation, the dhyana or the dharana. All these are not watertight compartments. They are basically, they are all one thing. They're just different ways of understanding different, basically an intellectual way, because intellect, that's what we do when we try to categorize things using the intellect. So I guess it becomes easier to understand something which is very profound when we categorize it. So that is the reason why we have made these categories, but otherwise it's just one yoga. There are no different types of yoga. It's just that we are giving categories to certain aspects of it so that we can understand it better using our intellect. Otherwise, it will become too difficult to understand it.
Right. I understand. And full disclosure, I've been your student now for 6 months, benefiting from these practices and learning them from you. And I've heard you talk a little bit on your YouTube channel about aspects of tantric yoga and the various practices, but I've never really heard how you got into it. What is it that propelled you towards tantric yoga?
So how I got into yoga, well, that is a long story, but I'll try to make it short. Basically, I've been doing yoga since the age of 11, and I did my bachelor's in electronics engineering.
Right.
And my final year project in engineering was on neural networks. Basically, neural networks are electrical networks that are based on the nervous system of the human body. But the thing that happened is, instead of me being interested in the electrical networks, I started getting more interested in the neural networks of the human body. And I was always into yoga, so I started connecting the two things, and I started getting more and more interested in the mechanism of the human body and how it's related to yoga, how it's related to the different concepts of the plexi, the different nerve plexi. And that's how I started getting into, that's how I got into it. and I was always doing it since the age of 11. So I also had a very good practical understanding of it. So it basically just happened, I guess,
It was
Yeah,
destiny.
that's the short, yeah, short answer of the question.
Okay. So essentially, just to recap, we're talking about a scientific understanding of the mind-body complex, and the tantric yoga is actually kind of working on that and working with a view to kind of stimulating it. So if we're working to stimulate the endocrine system, what is the ultimate goal of doing that?
So basically, the stimulation of the endocrine system is important because that is like the interface between the mind and the body. And we do yoga, we practice yoga not just for the health of the body. Of course, we will be making the body extremely healthy to the point where it will remain healthy throughout the life till the time you're alive. So that's the whole point. That's the physical reason for doing yoga. But there's also the psychic reason and the spiritual reason. And the psychic reason is that you basically have a lot of health issues related to the mind also these days. And since the endocrine system is like the interface between the mind and the body, so obviously stimulating the endocrine glands using yogic practices would ensure that the mind is also healthy along with the body. And if the mind and the body, both of them are healthy, then the spiritual aspect also remains healthy.
So I've heard it said that people use yoga to work on their physical body, things like strength and posture, muscle tone. They might come to yoga with an interest in helping control their impulses, their compulsions, and their mind. They might come to yoga to help improve the kind of natural vitality and energy of the system, and others might come with a view to trying to align the system in a way that it connects with the greater consciousness or opens up their own consciousness. So there are a variety of reasons. In your course of being a teacher, I just wonder what kinds of students you've had coming to you and what they might be seeking to achieve.
So like I've had different kinds of students, and they belong to different age groups. So some different people have different problems, both physical as well as mental. For example, there's this youngster who had a motivation related problem. She was not able to get motivated enough to do what she's supposed to do as a student. So after doing yoga, she started showing more interest in her day-to-day activities. So that is one thing. And then that is this middle-aged lady who used to feel a bit down, low energy, basically. So she has reported that she now feels high energy, more vital energy, basically. And then there are people who have a lot of physical, like they do a lot of physical activities throughout their life, throughout the day. So for them also, because you're working on mobility and flexibility as well. So even if you're living a lifestyle where it requires you to do a lot of physical activities, it helps with that also. She has reported that she can do more physical activities now and a little bit more efficiently because of the increased mobility and flexibility. So it helps over there also. And plus, mentally speaking, there are psychic propensities associated with each and every endocrine gland. So like a very simple example would be stress, anxiety, and fear, which is associated with the adrenal gland. Then there is things like lust, which is associated with the sex glands. So similarly, every endocrine gland has different psychic propensities, and some of them are good, some of them are bad. So all these practices help in controlling the negative propensities, the negative psychic propensities that stop you from functioning properly. And also it will help in harnessing the positive psychic propensities. Like for example, the other example would be the desire to do things. Like you must have heard of the phrase "the fire in the belly."
Yeah.
Which is basically if your digestive system and the endocrine gland associated with the digestive system, which is the pancreas, if it's functioning properly, then the desire to do something substantial in the world, that also is high. If those organs are functioning properly, and if they're not functioning properly, then that desire is a bit low. So that's like a positive there is a positive propensity which you can channelize to do what you want to do in your life. So that way also people tend to improve their life by practicing all this.
Right. So, I mean, I'm in Trinidad and Tobago in the Caribbean. You're in Mumbai in India, and I've been doing online classes with you. And obviously you do classes in your physical spaces. I wondered, before we talk a bit more about, how people can connect with you and the kinds of things they can learn from you, if you tend to get students who are interested in the spiritual aspect, for example, or if all of those things just happen concurrently, do people seek to work on specific areas in terms of the benefits they can get from Tantra, or is it that it just all happens kind of alongside each other?
So mainly, like if I have to divide the kind of students that will come, like there are people who are very rational, who have really scientific minds, and there are people who are very devotional. They are devotees basically. So
right.
Basically, both the kinds of students will benefit from it, because Tantra, like I said, is the scientific techniques of yoga, but it is still yoga. It is still related to spirituality. It is related to all the things that normally yoga is associated with, the physique, the mind, and the spirit. So all of those things are included. And apart from that, there are proper methods, there are proper techniques that even the scientific mind, the scientists will also understand. So it is not just purely spiritual or devotional practice. It is also something very scientific. So all people of all backgrounds, even if they have a rational mind or they have a devotee's mind, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what their goal is. Ultimately, the goal is to enhance the life and make it better, improve the life. So it doesn't matter what kind of background they come from. They all will benefit from it, and they all have actually enjoyed the practices, the tantric practices.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely noticed a change in my posture and an improvement in my strength. Do people come to you with specific issues in mind that they wish to deal with, and could they then therefore do a kind of a short course with you, or is it that people tend to come for a long-term physical practice and daily interaction?
So up till now, the students that have come, they have all continued with the practice. Like, no one has come just for a short-term thing. But the beauty of this is that even people who have certain physical health issues, like I've had students who have had back problems. So it was a bit of a surprise for me also, because within 3 sessions, I think after 3 or 4 sessions, the student reported that the back problem is no more. So
wow.
these things have also happened. So even if it's for a short-term gain, the techniques are simple enough and effective enough to work on problems, and it can solve the problems very quickly. So even if people just want to check it out and just get the short-term benefit from it, even for those people, it's quite useful.
So if people are interested in finding out more about what you can do for them and connecting with you, where can they find you? So
I'm taking offline classes as well as online classes. So both group classes as well as personal one-on-one classes. And so if people live in Mumbai near the area called Chembur, so I'm from Chembur in Mumbai. So I have got my offline classes and also personal training that I do. So they can take personal training or join one of my group classes. Or if they don't live nearby, then I have my online classes as well. They can join my online classes, basically, which I take on the Google Meet platform. They can join those classes as well.
I think in a subsequent chat, you and I should maybe show people some of the asanas that you teach and get the give an example of what tantric yoga looks like, so they can see it in practice.
Yes, definitely. I guess the next session, next video call could be about practices, physical practices. You can definitely demonstrate it. And yeah, I also have different social media platforms like Instagram, Facebook page, and also the YouTube channels there. So they can just approach me through any of those platforms. They can even email me. I've got my Gmail account also.
Okay, wonderful. And this is where they'd see you. You're in your yoga space currently?
Yeah, this is my yoga space. Like this is just one small part of it.
Mm.
So I have this whole room where I teach yoga. So yeah.
Okay, wonderful. Is there anything else that you think people should know about tantric yoga and its particular benefits?
Well, one thing is for sure that once they start doing it, once they start doing the practice, within 1 week, they'll definitely see a difference or a change in their posture. That is the first thing that changes. The very way they stand, the very way they sit, the very way they walk, that completely changes within 1 week. And this is what I've got, this is the feedback that I've got from the students. They can definitely expect this, at least for the first thing that they can expect is this, and then later on the energy, the higher vital energy and better flexibility, all of those things are definitely there. Better health, better physiological health, better digestion, all of those things are there. But I think the first thing that they can expect is better posture. That will definitely be there within 1 week. They'll definitely see the difference.
Right. Finally, I've heard this situation with people referring to or thinking about going to the gym. There's this kind of catch-22. Some people think they're not physically fit enough, or they're overweight and therefore don't want to be seen in a gym and go into a gym. I think the issue that happens with yoga sometimes is that people think they don't have flexibility and therefore they won't be able to get into the postures or benefit from them. What do you say to that kind of person who's in that situation?
So like I said before also, that I have got students from all age groups, right from the age of 9 or 10 or 11 until the age of 70, slightly above 70 also. And they all have different levels of fitness, different levels of flexibility. But the beauty of this system is that it is simple enough for everyone to do it, and at the same time, it's challenging enough to for those people who are really good at fitness. Even it's challenging for them also. Plus, it's very simple enough for those who don't have any knowledge of fitness, any knowledge of exercise, or they have really stiff bodies. So it will be effective for the newcomer also, and effective for a very expert, a fitness expert also.
Right, kind of athletes maybe. So it can be.
Yeah, the athletes will also benefit from it, and the newcomer will also benefit from it. They will understand it straight away. Within a few sessions, they will understand it. It's very simple. The way it's designed, it's very simple. That there's nothing really very difficult about it. It is challenging. It is definitely challenging, and that's what makes that's what improves the strength and the flexibility over a period of time. And we also use the principle of repetition and time and attention, which is a very proven method of improving strength and improving flexibility as well.
Right. So essentially it can be integrated. Yoga can be integrated into other physical practices that people do, other kind of athletic pursuits.
Yes. So like I said, one of my students, she does a lot of physical activities. So she has said that she can now do those physical activities in a more efficient way thanks to yoga. So definitely it benefits other physical cultures as well. The only thing is that you should never combine the two things together. Like yoga, when you're practicing yoga, just after practicing yoga, the body becomes really flexible and it becomes a little bit vulnerable as well. So during such a time, if you lift heavy weights, then you might injure the body. So that's why they say you should never combine the two things together. So if in the morning you're doing yoga, so you can do something like you can always do strength training or any other physical practice in the evening. So basically a gap between the two practices. That is the main thing. Otherwise, it will only enhance your other physical activities.
Right. I mean, that's a very good point, because it just gives us insight into the fact that one can always benefit from a teacher, someone with experience. And I know you don't like to talk about your own personality as a teacher, perhaps, but I would like to say that, you know, I think as a teacher, I've really benefited from both your dedication and your personality when it comes to teaching. As a fellow teacher myself, I know that certain students will kind of resonate with, you know, your approach, and others might not. But one of the things that you do is that you provide enough motivation to get into the posture, while also observing people's limitations and not pushing them too far. And I suppose with a physical practice like yoga, that's really important. So I'd like to thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's been wonderful chatting, and I hope we get to do this again, and we can expand upon what we've spoken about today and show people some of the actual physical practices.
Yes, definitely.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, Sanchit.
Thank you.